lately we had some Moonies come and visit us. Moonies are people who believe that we have not gone to the moon. They begin with that assumption, okay? Or this is their theory. We never went to the moon. And we had several of them, put comments, but none of them addressed, or few of them, if anything, if anyone, addressed some of the issues of physics. Okay, and that's what we would like to do in this channel. We like to do a little more physics and less politics, less conspiracy theory. There is some conspiracy theory involved, but primarily it should be physics. Okay, and so there are different levels of belief of what people think happened. Okay, and some people accept that we went into space, but not to the moon. Others don't believe we went to space at all. I guess others are out there and they don't even believe that NASA exists, or there's no NASA center at control center in Houston, no Cape Canaveral, no Cape Kennedy or Kennedy Center. I mean, you have all these different levels of belief and assumptions, where they start out from. And so the issue is that you have to address each one of these levels. And what I want to do, in this channel on the issue of the Moonies is that, for those who are sitting on the fence, at least I want them to fall over on certain things which I think that they can show to themselves, okay, if they're honest with themselves, okay. And again, they put the seed of doubt in my mind. I used to believe 100% that we went to the moon. There are some issues now that I cannot answer, and because of that, I have to withhold a little bit of belief, okay. I have to make certain assumptions. And above all, I need to look at this objectively, okay? And that's what I want to do. Anyways, one of the ways I want to do this is by something that almost anyone can verify out there, and that is the ISS, the International Space Station, okay? And here you see this ISS, according to official versions. It was built in several steps, okay? And over a period of 10 years, they used the different programs to get things up there, the shuttles. The Russians also sent probes out there, and they built this little by little, okay, one piece at a time, again, over 10 years as they needed it, and they had to work out there in the middle of nowhere with no gravity. And so the question is, does this exist? Is there such a thing as the ISS floating out there? Some people say, no, there's no such monster out there floating in space orbiting the Earth. So is it a fact? And a person raised an issue, and he says the following. He says, a fact is correct. Fact is correct. But if you look at the word correct, it's just an opinion. What is correct to you is incorrect to someone else. And, opinions, that's religion. That's just a belief. That's how everybody thinks things are for themselves. Okay? And using a different account, he goes in there and says, a belief has absolutely no credence in the scientific method. So, he has it that a fact is correct, and he says it has nothing to do with the scientific method, because that's what, a fact is, a belief. Someone believes that this is a fact and not that, right? And then he says everything is energy that can neither be created nor destroyed is a fact. So I guess, again, all he did was chase his tail around. All he did was say a fact is a belief, an opinion, and energy is a fact, meaning it's an opinion, his opinion, I guess, that's what he believes in. And then he says it's got nothing to do with science. Okay, good. I'm glad he went completely around. Anyways, here we have a fact, okay? More facts. Are any of these facts, okay? We add them to his list, okay? Is 1 + 1 = 2 a fact? And the issue there is that 2 is just a number, and we're defining the word 2. We're defining it as 1 + 1. It's only a definition that you're staring at there. How many times you're going to move your hand up and down, counting. 1, 2, you want the number 3, you move your hand 3 times, and you call that a 3. That's a definition. It's a tautology. Okay, so to say that, that 1 + 1 = 2 is a fact, it's just a tautology. How about pi? The number pi, is that, we have a ratio between two lengths. Is that a fact, or is that a tautology? How about God exists? Is that a fact? Fact for whom? Some people believe God exists. Other people say there is no such thing as God. And they all say they know. We know. Okay, that God exists. The other guy said, I know God doesn't exist. So does God exist? Is that a fact? Bent time equal to gravity. Is bent time gravity? Is that a fact? Has it been proven and accepted by every person on earth? Okay. Santa Claus rides a sleigh on Christmas. You ate yesterday. Maybe you didn't eat yesterday. I don't know that. You say it's a fact. You know, I don't believe you. I don't believe it's a fact. Okay. You will eat tomorrow. Well, we don't know. Until we get there, we won't know if it's a fact, will we? Napoleon fought at Waterloo. Is that a fact? Okay. And so again, we have all these things which we take for facts. Turns out when you look deep, we don't know if Napoleon went to Waterloo. All we know for a fact is that it's in the history books. We just have to memorize it. Is a fact what you memorize and believe because you just memorize it for the test or for whatever to pass your exam to graduate? Okay. And so yeah, think about all that. Here's what I was showing about the ISS. I'm saying it is a fact. And yeah, when we talk about facts and we're talking about evidence, we're talking about religion. Okay? We don't present evidence in science. We do it in religion. Why? Because we're trying to persuade people to change their minds. Okay? We're trying to convince them. We're trying to recruit them to our way of thinking. That's what evidence is used for. So evidence plays no part in science. It only plays a role in religion. And here's an amateur I showed the other day. Okay, and the guy is filming the ISS. Okay, and there he takes a picture of that, so you can make that even bigger if you want. And what he's showing is that he can film the ISS out there at night. Okay, so he's saying that the ISS is out there. He's not the only amateur. There's hundreds of amateurs who film this and have filmed it. They upload their videos and so on and pictures. So the question is whether there is something out there. And some people deny that there is an ISS out there. And I showed the other day that inside the ISS, you have this fellow, and he's floating around with his little laptop. And a lot of people think that this is all done with green screen and wires, Photoshop maybe, And this guy, I want to clarify, he's been on there talking here in this little video. He was talking for 45 minutes. Yeah, he was showing us the whole place. I just took a little chunk of it to show you. And I'm saying this is real. And if you can see them floating, if you think that's done with wires, well, I don't know what to say to you. You got a problem. Okay, so I showed the ISS, the fellow filming it out there in space. He takes a picture of it. Okay, it's you can tell by the distance that you can show with with your own binoculars or with your telescope or whatever you've got or your friends, that it's out there. And these guys are floating out there because they're 400 kilometers away from the Earth. And they're in essentially zero gravity. Maybe there is some gravity there, but it's a lot less than here on Earth. So the guy's floating. He's being filmed inside this ISS building that they built out there over 10 years. So he's there. He's there floating. And these people don't believe it. They say all this was done in Hollywood. Okay, so we have a problem. We have to start with those people. People who don't even accept something as basic as the ISS. I mean, if the ISS weren't there, we'd have a big problem bringing evidence that we ever went into space, that we sent rockets into space or to the moon or to whatever. Here we're talking about something that you can verify today. That's where the difference is. That's why the ISS is a good place to start for all those extreme Moonies, people who take it to the other extreme, right? And so one fellow out there, here's what he said. He said, ISS is a hoax. And he talks about the facts. And he goes over all these facts that he thinks, or that are facts for his understanding, for him, right? And he's saying, all these prove that there is no ISS. To me, it's a case of just extreme Mooney. Okay, this fellow doesn't want to accept that there's this thing flying out there when he can just show it with a telescope or with a pair of binoculars. And look at here. Here, this is what I think this is. It's a case of what happened to Galileo, that the cardinals didn't want to look through his telescope, apparently, right? I guess the way they saw it is, no, you got to look through the microscope at scriptures. And if you look at scriptures, you'll find that it says there's only 7 objects out there and that's it. No Galilean moons. And again, all this fellow has to do is go to a telescope, go to a pair of binoculars, look out there, the schedule for the ISS passing through different countries. It goes around the Earth 15 times a day. Okay, so you should like every 90 minutes. And so the issue is, all you have to do is get a pair of binoculars, look out there when it comes over your house, and you'll see it. We're done. That's how simple it is. You don't need to put all these facts and say, well, these are the facts. Well, these are the facts that he believes because, again, what he has is belief. Okay, that's what it's all about. And here's a word that you may want to look up, okay, which is when you're seeing something, okay, and you're hearing it, and you don't believe your eyes or your ears, and instead you accept what someone else is feeding you, a lie that someone is feeding you. It's known as gaslighting, okay, and it's making someone question his own reality, okay. The guy has arguments, and he convinces you, despite that your eyes and your ears tell you something different. So you don't believe your own senses, in other words, right? And it comes from a movie that was shown in 1944. Actually, it comes from 4 years earlier, a movie made by the British with the same name and same theme. Okay, so the movie was named Gaslight. Okay, because the guy was trying to fool his wife into believing she was crazy and so on. Did it with the gaslights. The action takes place in 1860s when they had these gas lights. So he turns them on and off and so on, makes her think that she's crazy. Okay, so it's known as gaslighting. It's misleading people into believing something that ain't true, that is obviously, patently not true because you're staring at it. So why would someone believe in the opposite when you're staring and hearing at something different, something that your senses tell you is not what this guy's telling you? And the most famous case that we have of gaslighting, I guess you could say, in the last 20 years is what happened on 9/11, World Trade Center 7. Okay, and I want you to listen and see. Okay, look with your eyes, listen with your ears, what you see and hear objectively. Forget about all your preconceptions. Okay, and here it goes. Okay, let me put it on. Here it goes.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse. Pull it. They made that decision to pull. You hear
that? Keep your eye on that building as we coming down.
Building is about to blow up. Moving back.
All right, guys.
We are looking back. It's a building about to blow up. The flame, debris coming down.
It's gone, man.
That's information. Of course, take a look at that right-hand side of the screen.
It's going down right now.
There it is.
Yep.
It went down right there.
So was the demolition of World Trade Center 7 a fact? Or should you be gaslighted and think that it was, what they tell you, the other version that they tell you about it, okay? So you got to tell me which one is true, okay? Either it's a fact, it happened, it was demolished, or what, debris brought it down? I mean, which is the fact? And why am I bringing that up? Because again, people talk about facts in science, and for that we have to look at the definition. Is fact part of science? And here we go. Okay? Here we have the definitions that you'll find in the dictionary and the Wikipedia. And then you see a fact, something that actually exists, reality, truth, whatever that is. And the next one is interesting. It's something known to exist, like for example the ISS, something you can show to yourself that exists right now, or to have happened, past tense, like World Trade Center 7. I mean, we can't reproduce World Trade Center 7 again any way you want to look at it, but it's a different story from the ISS. That's something you can look up there and verify with your own eyes. Okay, so I'm just trying to separate these different types of facts. To exist and to have happened are two different aspects, and the question is whether any of those have anything to do with science. Okay, and there you can see some of the definitions, and you can see that none of these words are ever defined scientifically. Truth is what? True state of matter, or the character of being true. And it's a fact, and what is a fact? Fact is truth. Okay, and there you see it on the right. Fact, something that is true. What is truth? The property of being in accord with fact. And this is what you get. You don't have any definitions, any scientific definitions, much less can you use the word fact in science. You can't bring that word into science because there is no such thing as scientific fact. Okay, and here's a rundown of that. Okay, fact is an opinion, a belief, part of religion, has nothing to do with science. Okay, there are no facts in science. Okay, what we have in science is known as statement of the facts. You give a statement of what you think is the fact, are the facts. The prosecutor goes in there, he's trying to prove his case to the jury. Again, fact has to do with belief. And he presents his case. He said, these are the facts. Then the defense attorney goes up there and he has a different set of facts. One guy believes the defendant is guilty and the other one believes the defendant is innocent. Okay, and they both present the facts. Yeah, sure. And what does the jury conclude? Again, they only conclude with belief. They don't know what the facts really are. They just say, well, what I heard makes me believe in this direction. The other guy says, I believe in that direction. Okay, so facts have nothing to do with science. And, people should take that word out of their mouth. Stop talking about facts, okay? The opponent may proceed with a different set of facts, and the juror takes the assumptions at face value. In other words, when the prosecutor says, these are the facts, okay, no, these are the facts according to him. It's a statement of the facts. And the jury doesn't have to believe those so-called facts. What the jury does is listens, concedes the facts in order to understand what his case is all about, what his theory is. That's the way it works in science, okay? So no, we don't believe in facts. We don't introduce facts. What we do is we make a statement of the facts. That's part of what is known as the assumptions. And you concede those statements of the facts in order to understand the theory founded upon that. Mother Nature is the only, or God or the devil, whoever, they know the facts. They know what happened. They have this filing cabinet and they have all the things that ever happened. But we have no access to those cabinets. Those are the facts. We can only make statements of the facts, of what we think happened. Okay? And there are different aspects of facts that we should take into consideration. And these are the notions. Okay, we have static versus dynamic facts. We have object versus occurrence, a thing versus something that occurred, happened. Okay, we have issue of time. You have future and past. Okay, and then you have something like known as the present, which we're going to be dealing with today, in fact. Okay, and here's examples of static versus dynamic. Okay. All atoms are physically interconnected by electromagnetic ropes. Is that a fact? Will you be required to believe it? No, you concede the assumption in order to understand the theory founded upon it. That's the way it works. It's not a question for you to believe, because we're not asking you to believe. We're saying, let us assume that all atoms in the universe are physically interconnected. That's the way it works. The wall is red. Well, you're staring at the wall. It's red. Obviously, it's there, right? Well, yeah, but one guy might say, well, what is red? The guy said, well, 620 nanometers frequency. And the other guy might say, well, that's 621. Well, let's measure it. And they spend all day long with measuring, and they say, well, it's 620 and so many decimal points. And they can argue all day long whether the wall is red. Okay, so is the wall red 620 nanometers as Mother Nature understands it, or is it the best reading we can get, on the color of the wall and the frequency coming from the wall? And so again, it all comes down to belief. Okay, any ratio. Okay, and those are static notions. How about the dynamic ones? Acceleration of gravity. You let go of the spoon, right? And it falls at a certain rate. And we say 9.8 meters per second square. Okay, that's the rate at which it falls. Is that a fact? How much of it is a fact? Do we have to go to gazillion decimal points to find out exactly at what rate it falls? Is that a question of accuracy, of precision? Okay, and so on down the line. I mean, does light travel 300,000 kilometers per second? Well, one guy says it's 299.999. The other guy might say 301. Okay, so, and other people don't believe it's a constant. They say, no, light varies. In fact, one of those was Einstein, because he had light curve around warp space time. And then he said, well, in the fourth dimension, it goes straight. Here, it curves. Okay. And, 1 + 1 = 2. That's just, it's a static concept in a way. Actually, it's dynamic because you're moving your arm to count each number. Okay? So, what are these facts? Well, you have, again, static versus dynamic. Okay, and here's the timeline of the past and present. Okay, here we have the future versus the past. Halley's Comet, well, it involves both the past and the future. We saw it in the past, or some people saw it, and they say, well, it's going to come back in 75, 76 years. Well, will it? Is that a fact? How about an eclipse? The moon goes in front of the earth and the sun, between them. Will that happen tomorrow or the next year or whatever? Are those facts? What if something destroys the moon and doesn't become a fact in the future? Okay, and so you can go on and on. Will the sun shine tomorrow? Well, we're 99.9999999% sure that it will come up tomorrow, but you don't never know. Maybe something destroys the sun tomorrow. Maybe it blows up. Maybe you don't come up tomorrow and you don't see the sun come up. So for you, it's not a fact. Okay. Will you eat tomorrow? Well, I don't know. Maybe you will. How about did you eat yesterday? Well, I don't know if it's a fact. Maybe you went on a diet and you didn't eat the whole day. Did Johnny die? Okay. Well, we don't know. Maybe he's just missing. Okay. Will Johnny die someday? Well, everybody would say yes. But then you say, well, humanity, will it die someday? Will it become extinct someday? What made you change your mind here and say, well, I don't know if humanity will die? I mean, is it the same thing as Johnny? What is Johnny? Johnny is a system of cells. Humanity is a system of people made of cells. Okay. Why would humanity live forever and Johnny not live forever? Okay. Okay, and so we get to the present, and here, this is where I want to conclude. Okay. The present, you have location, so therefore you exist by definition, because exist is an object. Okay, that has location. You don't have location, you don't exist. God wants to exist. First, he's got to be an object. He's got to be a thing. He's got to have shape. And then he had better have location. There had better be distance, straight line of direction between God and me. I don't care what dimension God wishes to hide. There should be a straight line of direction from God to me. Okay? And you are alive. Okay? Why? Because you move against gravity. That's the definition of living. Anything that moves against the path of least resistance, right? Primarily gravity. And then the one that you can prove to yourself in the present tense, right, which we'll be talking about today, which is the ISS. Is there an ISS out there? Okay, and all you have to do is look through the telescope. Pay attention to Galileo. He says you must look through the telescope if you want to see the moons, the Galilean moons. Well, this is no different. If you want to know if the ISS is out there, don't conjecture. Don't go in there and say, give me all the reasons why the ISS is not out there. Just take your binoculars and point them at the sky. All you have to do is lift your face a little bit and just stare. That's all it takes.